Good morning, I am Mahesh Kumar, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at B.V. Raju Institute of Technology, Narsapur campus. I am dealing with the course Computational Thinking and Programming. In this session, I am going to discuss about looping structures. So in the previous sessions, we have discussed about conditional statements. The purpose of conditional statements were to make the program to take a decision what to be executed, what is to be skipped. In the same way, we have another type of control structure we use in the programming, that is looping structures. What is the necessity of looping structures? Now the program has to take a decision to repeat certain code again and again. In this scenario, we will be making use of looping structures. So let us move and see what is looping and what type of loopings we use in the programming. So we'll start with looping. The loop statements are also called iterative statements because in a looping, certain statements will be executed repeatedly. In a looping, a sequence of statements are executed until certain conditions for termination of the loop are satisfied. A loop will always consist of two segments, one known as body of the loop and other known as control statement. The control statement will test certain conditions and then directs the repeated execution of the statements which are contained in the body of the loop. Based on the position of the control statement in the loop, a control statement can be classified either as entry control loop or exit control loop. So we just see what type of loops we use in C program. The loops are classified into two types. The first one is an entry control loop. In this kind of looping, the control conditions are tested before the start of the body of the loop. And the second type of loop we use is exit control loop. In this kind of looping, the test is performed at the end of the body of the loop, and therefore the body of the loop is executed unconditionally for the first time. So these are the different types of loops we make use in C program. Now we will see one by one what are entry control loop and what are exit control loop. So first we will begin with entry control loop. In C programming, we use two different types of entry control loops. One is for and the second one is while. Now we will talk about the first statement. So first statement is an entry control loop because the condition will be tested before execution of the body of the loop. Now if I want to make use of first statement in program, we have to understand the syntax of first statement. So this is the syntax of first statement. The first statement always contains three parts. The first part is called as initialization, the second part is called as test condition, and third part is where we will increment or decrement the control variable. Now after this first statement, immediately we have a block of statements. So these block of statements are the statements that needs to be executed repeatedly based on the test condition evaluation. So whatever the statements we write inside the first statements gets executed repeatedly if the condition is satisfied. The statements which we have, whatever we have written inside the body of the loop, will be executed repeatedly. So all the statements what we collect in this particular for statement are called body of the loop. So if we understand this particular syntax, then we can make use of first statement. So let us try to check how this particular first statement will work. So let us see the working of the first statement. So whenever we use first statement in the program, the first thing what we need to do is we need to have two control variables. These control variables have to be initialized by using assignment operator. Now in this case, we have a variable called I, which is a control variable, and count is another control variable. I and count are control variables which are used for controlling the first statement, loop statements. So they are initialized with 1 and 0 first. So after you do initialization of control variables, then the value of the control variable will be tested using a test condition. So the value of the control variable will be tested with a test condition. And the condition whatever we use is a relational expression. The condition whatever we use is a relational expression that will determine when the loop have to be exited. So when we have to stop the loop. Next, if the condition has evaluated to true, the body of the loop get executed. If the condition is evaluated to false, then the loop is terminated. In the next step, what we are going to do. So once when the body of the loop is executed for the first time, the control will be transferred back to the first statement. We have to understand about this. So once for the first time body of the loop get executed, the control will be transferred back to the first statement, because we are talking about the looping structure. The need of the looping structure is to execute certain piece of code repeatedly. So if you want to repeat it again, the program has to make a decision whether it has to repeat the statement or not, whether it has to repeat the execution of the statement or not. So after the control is transferred back to first statement, then in the next step, we will increment the control variable value, because initially we have initialized a value for the control variable. Now after executing the body of the loop for the first time, then we change the variable value, control variable value, that is incremented by +1. So this I value, whatever we are talking, the control variable I, initially initialized to 1. So now this I variable will count how many number of times the body of the loop has been executed. To trace out how many number of times the body of the loop has been executed, we will make use of this particular variable. So once the control variable value has been changed, then the changed value will be one more time tested to see whether it is satisfied. So if the control variable value is satisfied with the condition, then the body of the loop is again executed for the second time. So in this way, this process continues until the value of control variable fails to satisfy the test condition. So this is how the first statement works in the program. Now let us see if we use the first statement in the program, how it will affect the flow of the execution. So this is a flow diagram. When we use a first statement, in the first step we have initialized the value of control variables. After that, the control variable value will be tested with the condition. If the control variable value satisfies the condition, the control will be traveled in this true path. That means the body of the loop gets executed for the first time. So after executing the body of the loop for the first time, then immediately we will change the control variable value. That is, either we will increase the value of control variable or we will decrease the value of the control variable. Now after doing this particular step, then again the new value of control variable is tested with the condition. So if again the control variable value is satisfied with the condition, the control will be traveled in the true path. Once again the body of the loop gets executed. So this process gets repeated until the control variable value fails to satisfy this condition. If the control variable value fails to satisfy the condition, the control will travel in the false path. That means the control will exit from the first statement. The loop will be terminated. So this is how we will make use of first statement in a C program. Now let us implement a code by making use of first statement. So we discussed about the first statement. Now we will try to implement a code by making use of first statement. So in this particular code, we are going to find out Fibonacci series. So we have to write a program to find Fibonacci series for a given value. So before going to solve this particular problem, we have to have an idea about what is Fibonacci series. The Fibonacci series is a series where the sequence will be in the form of terms. So in a Fibonacci series, always the first term will be 0, the second term will be 1, and thereafter whatever the terms we get will be the sum of the previous two terms. So just let me write and tell you the Fibonacci sequence. So Fibonacci sequence is a sequence where the first term will be always 0, the second term will be 1, and thereafter we have to find out the next terms in the sequence. Until how many terms we have to find out is, it depends on the input what we provide. Assume that if I have given 3 as input, that means we have to find the Fibonacci sequence up to 3 terms. So you can count here, the first term is 0, the second term is 1, and what will be the third term? So that is to be calculated. So in order to calculate the Fibonacci sequence, we have a formula like this. So if you want to find fib of a given n value, we need to sum the previous two terms, that is f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2. So this is the formula that we have to make use to find the Fibonacci sequence. So for the given n input, the Fibonacci sequence will be the sum of previous two terms, that is f of n minus 2 plus f of n minus 1. So for example, if I give fib of three terms, So we know that the sequence, the Fibonacci sequence will be, the first term will be 0, the second term will be 1, and now I am finding the third term value. So how we are finding the third term value? Substitute this value f of 3 minus 1 plus f of 3 minus 2. So which will be equal to f of 2 plus f of 1, which means that whatever the value we have at second position and first position, these are the two previous terms. So in this case, the second term value is 1 and the first term value is 0. So we need to add both the terms. Second term value is 1 and first term value is 0. Then we will be getting the third term as 1. So in this way we will calculate the Fibonacci series. So let us write a code to implement this particular logic. So what we have to do, so before writing the code, just we will see. So what is required to find Fibonacci series of the given term? So n is the input that will be provided for the program. So when I pass the value n for the program has to calculate series. So what we do in the program is, so first in the program we will declare a variable called first term, f underscore term, and second variable as s underscore term. So these are the variables that we will declare in the program. And to read the input from the user, we require another variable n, so where we will provide the input for the program, right? Now in order to calculate the next term in the series, we know that the first term in the Fibonacci series is always 0, the second term in the Fibonacci series is always 1. Now from then onwards, if I want to calculate the next term value, you have to do some calculation. So what we said in the formula, that fib of n will be always equals to fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. So when we substitute the value in this particular formula, we will get the next term value. So what we do in the program, we will declare a variable called n underscore term. So where I don't know what will be the next term value, I need to calculate this particular value. So like this, we have to continue calculating the next term values. So suppose if you say I want third term value, I want to calculate the third term value. So third term value will be calculated by summing up the previous two terms. So what was the first term we have? The first term value is 0, the second term value is 1. When we add these two terms, previous terms, so what are the previous terms before third term? Second term and first term. So the value of second term is 1, the value of first term is 0, both will be added. When you do this calculation, this will be the next term in the sequence. Now when I want to calculate fourth term in the series, what we have to do, we have to calculate the previous two terms. So now if you observe this, just understand this. In the first term, the sequence is in this way. First term is 0, second term is 1. We have calculated the third term value here, so which was nth term, which is 1. So the third term value is 1. Now I need to calculate the fourth term. So how to calculate the fourth term? The sum of the previous two terms. So here we have to calculate the term value. The previous two terms are this and this. That means in our logic, what we have to do, we have to change the value of first term and second term, because previously when we are calculating the third term, the values what we have assigned initially for first and second term will be able to calculate the third term. But when I want to calculate the fourth term, what we have to do, we have to change the value of first term and second term, because we need to add the previous two terms of the fourth term. So what are the previous two terms before fourth term? This is third term value and this is second term value. That means we have to sum up second and third term values to get the fourth term value. So what we have to do in the program, we need to change the first term value and second term value. So what we do after calculating the third term, change the value of f underscore term as 1 and second underscore term as 1. So in the logic, what we will do is simply we will move the value of second term to first term, right? And second term value, we will push the third term, whatever we have calculated, into second term. I hope you have understood this. So what we need to do to find the fourth term, the value of first term should be 1, the value of second term should be 1. If you observe the series, we have the first term as 0, second term as 1, and the next term what we have calculated here in the third term, this one, this value. In n underscore term variable, we have a value 1, right? What we will do here is to calculate the fourth term, push the value of second term into first term so that the first term will become 1, right? Now after removing the second term value into first term, after pushing the second term value into first term, now push the nth term what we have calculated previously to this s underscore term, right? So when we do this, what was happen? The nth term value, n underscore term value, will become 0, because we have pushed the value of nth term that we have calculated into s underscore term. Now observe the values what we have. Now your first term value is 1, second term value is 1, and the next term value is 0. That means we have to calculate this in the program now. Now apply the same formula. So how you will calculate the nth term? Now we are calculating the fourth term. The previous two terms, what were previous two term values? 1 and 1, which are stored in variable f underscore term and s underscore term. Now add these two, sum up these two values. So n term will be, n underscore term will be 1 plus 1, which is equals to 2. So that will be displayed in the series. So we'll take one more series, we'll calculate one more series. So now if I want to calculate the fifth term, now the first term value and second term value should be changed. We have to change it. So what we do in the fifth term, what are the previous two terms before fifth term? The previously calculated nth term, that is 2, right? That should be summed up with the previous term of this term. So 1 and 2, this 2. The fifth term value should be 3, right? So if you add these two values, previous terms, fourth and third term value, then we will get the fifth term value. So in order to get this, what we have to do again? Change the value of first term and second term. first term and second term. So already we have checked what we have done in the fourth when we are calculating the fourth term value, right? So change the value of f underscore term. So what was previous value in f underscore term? It was 1, right? Now what should be the value of f underscore term? It should be 1 itself, right? What was previous s underscore term value? It was 1. So what we will do is our f term should be 1, s term should be 2. In order to do this, move the value of s underscore term, previous value of s underscore term into f underscore term. So the value will be 1. Now when we push f underscore term into f underscore term, this s underscore term value will be nil. So push the previously calculated n underscore term value, that is 2, into s underscore term, right? Now s underscore term will become 2. Now see the term values now. F underscore term value is 1, s underscore term value is 2. Then find out what will be the next term. So sum up value of first term and second term. So that will be 1 plus 2. This is the fifth term value. So display this in the sequence. Now observe the series. So what is the answer for find what is the Fibonacci series up to fifth term? It is 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. So like this we can calculate any number of terms. This is the solution for finding the Fibonacci sequence of a given number. Now this logic we will implement in the program. So let us quickly write a code, include library file stdio.h to make use of print and scan functions. Then in the main function, in order to calculate the Fibonacci series, we require the first term value and second term value. So declare variables in the program. First, the program has to read up to which number the sequence have to be displayed. So input value should be read from the user. So n is the input value. Then to calculate the Fibonacci series, we require the first term value, we require second term value, right? Now when you have first term value and second term value, you can calculate the next term. But before calculating the next term, always in a Fibonacci series, we discussed that the initial value of this is 0 and the initial value of second term will be always 1. So initialize first term value with 0, second term value with 1. Right. After declaration of these three variables, then your program should ask user to enter up to which number he want Fibonacci series. So enter n value to display Fibonacci sequence. Right. Now the program will read the input from the console. So make use of scan function. Read the input value, which is an integer type, and store this at the address of variable n. So now the input is stored in n variable. After knowing the input value, the program has to calculate the Fibonacci sequence. So in a sequence, always the first term will be 0 and second term will be 1, that we know. So what your program will do is it will print the first term in the sequence and second term in the sequence, because it already knows what will be the value of first term, what will be the value of second term. So make use of print statement and display the first term value. So where we have first term value, it is being stored in this variable f underscore term. So if you display f underscore term value, then the first term in the sequence will be displayed on the console, right? So first percentile d. So where is this value? It is stored in f underscore m, f underscore term, right? So first term in the sequence have been displayed. Immediately after this, give some tab space. So you know how to give tab space. We have to make use of /t, which will provide a tab space. After providing tab space, display the second term. So what is the second term in the Fibonacci series or sequence? It is 1. So in our program, we already stored that value in this variable called s underscore term. So display the value of this variable, percentile d. So that should be read from this particular variable s underscore term. Now, so this print statement has been written to display the first term in the sequence and second term in the sequence. Then after this, you need to display the third term, but the program does not know what is the value of third term. The program has to do calculation. So how you will calculate the third term value? Just we have discussed about it. We can find out the next term value in a Fibonacci sequence by summing up the previous two terms. So what were the previous two terms? It is f underscore term value and s underscore term value. So sum these two. The value of f underscore term, when you sum up with the value of s underscore term, you will get the next term value. So this is the statement that should be executed for finding the next term value. Now once you found the next term value, immediately the program has to display it on the console. So make use of print statement, printf, right? And display. So I will provide a tab space first, /t, then I will display percentile d. So we'll do it after percentile d. Display the value, then provide tab space, right? So we have calculated the next term value that is stored in n underscore term. If you display the value of n underscore term, the third term value will be displayed in the sequence. Now, so we calculated the third term. Now again what we have to do, we have to calculate the next term, fourth term value, right? So if you want to calculate the fourth term, what you have to do again, you have to calculate n term. To find n term, you should sum up the previous two term values, right? But the value of f underscore term and s underscore term are 0 and 1 previously. When you do the same calculation here, if you write sum of f underscore term plus s underscore term. So if you do this calculation, what is going to be happen? Again, you will get the same value what was in the third term. When you calculate the fourth term, the value of fourth term should be the sum of previous two terms. So if you take the same logic, your output will be wrong. So what you need to do here is you have to first change the value of first term value and second term value, because the second and third term values are 1 and 1. 1 and 1. That should be summed up to get the fourth term. So in order to do that, the value of f underscore term should become 1 and the value of second term should be changed to 1. So when we discussed about this problem solving, I already told you what to do in the program. So same, now if you observe here, calculating third term, displaying it in the sequence, calculate the fourth term, again you have to display it on the console. So this procedure will be continued until you get the series up to nth term. That means the same logic is being executed multiple number of times. So we have to write the same logics for multiple number of times, same statements for multiple number of times. So instead of doing this, we make use of looping structures in the program. So what I am going to do is I will write the logic only for one time, right? I will apply the same logic for calculating all the terms in the sequence. That means I need to execute this particular logic for n number of times repeatedly. So that's why what I will do, I will make use of loop structure. So I will take a for loop, right? Inside the for statement, I will put all the statements which are required to calculate the Fibonacci sequence. Now you can observe. So after calculating the third term, then I have to calculate the fourth term. The same statements will be executed. So these statements will be repeatedly executed until we display Fibonacci sequence up to n terms. So we are making use of this for loop. So now after displaying the third term, we need to calculate the fourth term. That means we need to execute this statement and this statement once again. But before executing these two statements once again, what we have to do is we have to change the values of first term and value of second term. So in order to change it, what we have discussed, the value what we have in S term has to be pushed into first term. In the logic, we have to do this. So second term value is pushed into first term. Now what will happen when you do this? Your first term value will become 1. Next, change the value of S underscore term, right? So previously we have calculated the third term value which was equal to 0 plus 1, right? So that is 1. So what we do now, the value what we have in n underscore term should be pushed into the variable S underscore term. Now what was happened when I write these two statements? The value of F underscore term has been modified. The value of S underscore term has been modified. Now observe, so when you add these values, you will be able to get the fourth term value, that is 2. Like this, these statements have to be repeated for n number of times. How many number of times? N number of times. You have to say it to this particular first statement. So in a first statement, I will be taking a loop variable I, right? So I have to declare it. So declare the variable I and use it in the loop. So now when you are displaying the third term value from third term to nth term values, you have to display the calculated n underscore term value from third term to nth term. So what should be the positions where you have to display this particular values in the series? We have to display it in the series from the third position until nth position. So your loop should be repeated for how many number of times? The loop have to be repeated for n number of times. That means you have to write a condition in such a way that your control variable I value should be less than or equal to n. So for the first time, when you calculate n term, that will be displayed in the sequence at third position, third place, third term, right? After that, whatever the value that you are going to calculate, that will be the fourth term. So I is counting what is the term that we are calculating, and the calculated value have to be placed in the sequence in that particular position. So every time you have to change the value of I to calculate each term. So that will be done in the third part of first statement, that is I plus plus. So your loop will begin with the value called 3, and your loop will exit when I reaches to n. So in this way, we will make multiple statements or some statements execute repeatedly in a C program by making use of first statement. So close this for block. Now see the logic. So this is the logic for finding Fibonacci sequence up to n terms. So once we will run it and check the output. Successfully compiled. Run the program. So your program asks you to enter the input. So we will provide 3 as input. So that means the Fibonacci sequence should have 3 terms. What are those 3 terms that will be calculated by the program? And you can see here. So what was happened? So your logic your logic has been written wrongly here. So go to program. So we changed here. When I am explaining, I have changed the value of first term here, right? So modify that 0 term. Now once again run the code. So we have got this. The program has displayed 3 terms. What are the values of 3 terms? 0, 1 and 1. So see, if you observe this second and third term values, when we displayed it, we didn't give a tab space. So once we will modify it, right. So after displaying first term and second term, before printing the third term, you provide a tab space. Now you can check it. So input is 3. What are the 3 term values? 0, 1 and 1. So we will check it for another value. The input value is 5. So when I ask to display the Fibonacci sequence up to 5th term, you have to get 5 term values. So what are those 5 term values? You can observe this: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms we have. Now see the third term value. What is third term value? We have calculated previous 2 terms, sum of previous 2 terms, 0 plus 1, 1. Fourth term value is 2, sum of previous 2 terms, 1 plus 1, 2. Fifth term value, sum of previous 2 terms, that is 2 plus 1, 3. So in this way, we will calculate Fibonacci sequence. So in this particular program, we have used looping structure for and understood how we can repeat certain piece of code repeatedly. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.